We left West Yellowstone in the late afternoon after a big breakfast, a post office run, and one last town meal. I had my camera cleaned at a shop in town, and after a short reprimanding for the condition it was in, they returned it looking like new. We hitched from the edge of town and got picked up by a nice older couple from Island Park. As always, we started to climb first thing. I distracted myself from the afternoon heat with an audiobook and a phone call to a friend. So we just left West Yellowstone. Well, just at like 2-ish, it's like 6-ish. I've only gone like 8 miles because it was a climb, and honestly, I'm having some cramps. So yeah, it's been slower, and I'm also always just slow coming out of town. Full pack, lots of food in my belly. Not always the best recipe for fast hiking, but it's okay. It's been gorgeous. I'm really glad we took this route out of town because it's very pretty. We were kind of debating whether or not we should take an alternate or continue to take an alternate that we came into town on so that we could save some miles, save some time, but we heard this route was really pretty, and it is. It's gorgeous. And I had some phone service, so I got to have a nice call with one of my good friends. Shout out to Carly. And it's so hard, like even with the best intentions, to catch up with people in town sometimes because town days are just so hectic. You have so many chores. And like next thing you know, it's 8 p.m. and you haven't even really relaxed. So really grateful for friends who are understanding of that and for having phone service on nice bridge walks, because it's like kind of the best time to be able to catch up with people. And I think I technically just crossed into Montana a little bit ago, but there was no sign or anything, so, but on my map I can tell. So yes, I made it to Montana. And I'll kind of go back and forth between Idaho and Montana for the next, for a while. The ridge walking was beautiful and darted back and forth over the Idaho and Montana state line before we descended for the evening to camp. We set up at a lake with questionable sights but good trees for bear hangs. Ollie and High Roller showed up just as we were eating dinner, and we all drifted off to a good night's sleep. We awoke to smoke and a 2-mile climb over a beautiful pass. At the top, I got some cell service and called my dad to check on the smoke. It appeared to be coming from somewhere else in Idaho, and we were safe to continue. Good morning. I am climbing up Darby Pass right now, so I might be a little out of breath, but it's a pretty nicely graded climb, so not too bad. Easing us back into this whole climbing thing after Yellowstone was pretty dang flat, and a lot of the climbs in general in Wyoming were pretty manageable. It's a bit hazy out this morning. I don't know if you can tell. A little bit of a late start this morning. Slept until around 7, left around 8, but honestly I think that usually gives me more energy, and I'm just not a strong morning hiker. On the long descent from the pass, I saw horsepackers and lots of wildflowers with bees buzzing all around. Before lunch, I crossed the highway right next to the "Welcome to Montana" and "Welcome to Idaho" signs. People pulled over to take photos, and I wondered how I looked to them, coming from the field on one side of the highway and walking right over to the other. Crickets hopped away from my falling feet all afternoon on a long, hot, exposed stretch of trail. I ate huckleberries on my way to camp and found Kid, who had turned around to warn us our initial plan was no good. So we camped early by a creek with more wild berries to offer than we could eat. Our morning started with a trek through Hell-Roaring Canyon, which was gorgeous, but Southbounders had expressed it was one of the best views they'd had so far, which made me nervous for what the rest of the trail north would look like. We had lunch at what we thought was the last water for about 17 miles, but some more Southbounders informed us there were some promising puddles in just 9. So with just 2 leaders, we took off for the rest of the afternoon through a sheep experiment area. Although we didn't see any mutant sheep, the evening's hike was quite beautiful, and we got to camp right around dark. 2 paths diverge on the Continental Divide, and we always take the one that goes straight up. We set up our tent, got water, and ate dinner across the creek, where we also hung our food. It was our last full day before town, and Kid wanted to see how close to the road he could get. So I told him to go ahead, knowing I'd go just as far as I felt like, and I'd see him in town. During my first climb of the day, I startled a bear and it crashed away, only giving me a glimpse of its cute brown butt. I made lots of noise, hopeful that a mama bear wasn't close by. It is, what day is it? Thursday, August 11th. Yesterday was kind of a tough day, just mentally. I think it was also kind of hot, and yeah, I'd had a couple of good days in a row, and I guess it was just time to have a tough mental day, but today is already feeling a little better. I was just walking, saw this arrow, and was like, who is trying to fuck with everyone? Saying like that's a trail, and then I realized raspberries, I think. Definitely a compound berry though, so they're safe to eat. I wonder if Ollie and Aaron left this for me. They did, that was very sweet. Gonna eat it. I rounded out the lovely start with a stop at a pit toilet. In the afternoon, I stopped for lunch at a fairly exposed creek and took the opportunity to dry out my tent. Realizing I didn't have much food left, I ate selectively. I hiked on and off with my Aussie friends throughout the afternoon, and we had a huge, steep climb right at the end of the day that was honestly pretty brutal. And even the ATV can't get up the climb. Yikes. Look how steep this shit is. Once we reached the top, we decided to eat dinner and observed the clouds rolling in. We figured we should probably try to find something somewhat sheltered for camp, and hiked about another mile to a small cluster of trees. We woke up early to ensure we could catch an 11:30 shuttle into town. The whole way was a cruisy downhill accompanied by cows. Got a quick 9.2 into town this morning. I've already done like 7. It's mostly on a dirt road and all downhill because we did all of our climbing last night. It's sunny today already. I'm kind of glad that we're going into town today. There's a steakhouse in Lima that's supposed to be really good, and we're hitting it on a Friday, so it's open. It's like closed Monday through Wednesday, I think. And been looking forward to that meal. It's been my carrot that I've been dangling for myself for this section. Yesterday afternoon kind of hit a low point again. It's kind of just like a roller coaster of emotions this hike. I'll be like super stoked and excited and like happy about life in the morning, and then it's like after lunchtime, like when it gets really hot and I'm tired and there's lots of climbs, and I just am like, why am I out here? What am I doing? And that's when it helps to have a carrot. I ran into a southbounder who let me know if I put some pep in my step, I might be able to catch an earlier shuttle. So I started running a bit, and I even set off a sheepdog. I made it to the underpass before the shuttle and waited with Ollie and High Roller. When we got to town, we realized just how small it was. We ate at one of maybe 2 restaurants, claimed a tent site, and started laundry. Later that night, we had an incredible steak dinner, and overall, this town stop was pretty phenomenal for being so small. We woke up in Tent City and started packing, drying, and charging what we could. We made our way to breakfast and hoped to catch an earliest shuttle back to trail. We got back to trail at a decent time and hoped to do a 20, but the weather had other plans. Just as we were about to climb to the top of the divide, ugly dark clouds rolled in. We decided to take a lower elevation alternate, and we're super thankful we did when it started hailing with thunder and lightning. We hid under a bush to escape the hail, and it worked a little bit. Montana. Cows are trying to kill us. We climbed a steep ATV road to reconnect with the CDT and walked a beautiful ridge before more clouds came in. This time, we saw lightning just ahead and quickly realized we needed to bail. We lucked out with timing and were right next to an off-trail spring that was down a short, steep hill. We bailed down to it and hastily squeezed our tents together on the small patch of flat land around the spring. Just as the tents were up, it began to pour. After a short time, the rain gave way to a double rainbow. The worst sound in the world. The next morning was more beautiful ridge walking. Southbounders had complained that this section was, quote, just walking for miles along a barbed wire fence. And while there was a barbed wire fence, I felt that was underselling it a bit. Somehow, before our first water, I got way off trail and ended up having to hop a barbed wire fence before finding my way back to trail. We continued to get lost after the water source, and somewhere in the kerfuffle, I misplaced a water bottle. We had lunch at a small creek decorated with cow patties and started another climb with looming clouds shortly after. The cow patty creek upset my stomach some, but I felt better after a bathroom break and made my way up the rest of the climb. It was gorgeous, even with the ominous clouds in the distance. We seemed to be out hiking a storm for most of the afternoon, and we could hear thunder on either side, but it didn't rain and there were clear skies above us. We ate dinner at another spring, and I saw my first tick of the CDT. The walk to camp was nothing short of stunning, and it helped me understand where Montana gets the name Big Sky Country. Walking into the sunset is one of the many privileges of through hiking. There's no rush to get back home or to a car or back to lights inside. You're at peace with the decision to walk into the night, knowing all you need is a headlamp to set up your tent, and sometimes not even that is necessary when you have the light of the full moon on your side. In the morning, we made our way to an alternate at Dead Man's Lake that would cut off some miles. When I arrived at the lake, Kid was fishing and everyone was taking a water break. The alternate went straight up immediately, but eventually mellowed out, and although it was exposed, it was mostly nice walking. We stopped for lunch under some bushes next to a creek and someone's car camping site. After lunch, we started walking back toward the CDT and Hardness Lake. With some cross-country travel, we successfully reconnected to trail. After a long climb, I realized we were about to go back down and immediately back up again. So I decided to seek out an alternate to eliminate the pointless climb. We successfully navigated and popped back onto trail with hardly any elevation gain or loss. After a quick break on a rock with cell service, we began a cross-country route to dinner. Posts helped us navigate across the wide open fields, and we walked into the dark to camp.
It has been a day, but it's been pretty exposed. Lots of climbing, really pretty ridge walks, but yeah, that involves climbing and exposure, so it's been tough. Only like a tiny bit left of climbing today and then downhill to where we want to camp, which puts us 29 miles from town to catch a shuttle at 7 a.m. the following day. Overall, it's been a really good day though. Very pretty.
Ken and I decided to hike separately the next day since he wanted to make it the whole 30 miles to the road, and I'd prefer to sleep in. I slept in just a little bit and had a calm morning hiking and listening to podcasts. I stopped at a lake to gather water, and most of the day was exposed with smoke rolling in from distant fires. I had lunch with Pilgrim and Gourmet and found out that one of the alternates we were planning to take farther down the trail cut more miles than I thought. The rest of the day stayed exposed but pretty, and I enjoyed it mostly in solitude. Just as the sun was setting, I climbed a mountain and got spectacular golden hour views. Napoleon and I shared some whiskey on a bluff before hiking the rest of the way to camp. I arrived at Dead Man Pass, which we hoped would have water, but far out comments made it seem a little bit questionable. There was water, but Gourmet had just spotted Grizzly while gathering his, so I passed. I had enough to get to town, so Ollie, High Roller, and I hiked a ways up the hill, hoping if the bear was still around, he wouldn't want to come up there for our food. With no trees to hang our food from, I secured mine in my scent-proof bag and hoped for the best. Not something I necessarily recommend. I woke up at 4:30 to get moving by 5 to catch a supposed 7 o'clock shuttle, and luckily I was not visited by any bears in the night. The walk to the road was nice, even in the dark, and I made it to the pickup point with 20 minutes to spare. It was a dirt highway, and I could now see why calling ahead for a shuttle was definitely necessary. Leadore is another small town where luckily our friend Mary and kid's mom sent packages to supplement the scarce resupply options. We stayed at the Mustang Inn, a lovely little oasis for hikers run by an awesome local family.
Okay, go for it. It looks, and
That is concentrated.
yeah, that's why you don't do it that way.
Ooh.